there is so much going on these days, and we had a conference that was scheduled through the state, and there's just a lot of things. But I did get some feedback from some folks that 1 o'clock actually worked better. So hopefully that works for you guys. It might be better. It might be a permanent change. We'll have to do our survey at the meeting and see what people think.
Yep.
Well, if you have your agenda, I welcome everyone, and we have an amazing presenter today. He's doing wonderful, wonderful work in our schools with our secondary students, working with Miss Rebecca Moats, and it's Dr. Diane Taylor, and she's providing our students with something that's going to be invaluable to them in their future leadership and mentoring. Just a really good program. We're going to learn about that today. And then every year we have the parent survey, parent family survey that goes out. It's very important. It's a piece of what we have to do for our title programs, because these survey data, almost all of our federal programs require a needs assessment, and this survey data feeds into that needs assessment in an important way. And it's required that we want to look at it, make sure that our questions are the things that we need to answer or ask our parents so that we get good data back. And then hopefully Dr. Currency will be able to join us. He had some things to do this morning, but he said he thought he might be off of his call at 1 and he might join us later. So we scheduled him late. And so hopefully we'll get to hear from him today also. Yeah. With that being said, I once again welcome everyone. And we're going to turn the screen over to Dr. Taylor. And Mr. Helms is going to support her with her PowerPoint. And we're going to learn some wonderful things.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you for inviting me today. And I'd like to invite Becky, my partner in this great collaboration, to initially start and introduce what we did. Becky Moats, turn on your volume. That's
all right. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. So it was hard for us to explain this program without me first kind of laying a little bit of additional information that some of you may not be aware of. So this partnership with UNF's Taylor Leadership Institute kind of came about due to the projects that the JFG program is involved in. So Mr. Helms, can you advance the slide? So the purpose of today's event is to share special opportunities for our students, and we couldn't describe our partnership with UNF's Taylor Leadership Institute without explaining how this partnership evolved. So in the Jobs for Florida Graduates program, our students did based upon their promise. So we specifically are looking for students that might have some risk factors for post-secondary success. And once those students are identified, we go through a very specific curriculum, all centered around post-secondary success. And in one of those initiatives, we connect students with professionals in their field of interest to serve as mentors. So one of our other initiatives is to connect our students with leadership opportunities in authentic settings. So we engage a lot in community service projects. So that is kind of what starts our tale. My students were asked to serve in the Bartram Frolic community event, where they helped organize and become runners for the people that were running the booths and whatnot at the Bartram Frolic. And we do have a Bartram Frolic coming up in April, so please be on the lookout for that. It's a lot of great fun for our community, and it's a great educational experience as well. But when my students were doing this, that's when they first encountered her. And she was very impressed, and I'll let her talk about that, but with the students. And it was in this kind of endeavor where they're taking on leadership roles and engaging in community service and networking that Dr. Taylor and I started the process of kind of planning this partnership. So, Mr. Helms, can you advance the slide? So of course, most of you know about JSG, and we select our students and we build that leadership in them so they're poised for career success. So everything that we do is centered on that post-secondary success. Mr. Helms, can you advance? We have programs in these 8 schools, and so in all of our middle and high schools, there is programs. So hopefully we are identifying the students that might need a little extra support for their career endeavors. Mr. Helms, can you advance? So in order for the JP program to build the right skills at the right time, so that when we partner with UNF and their mentors, we want to make sure that our students are poised to get the most benefit from this mentorship. So this is what we do to prepare them before they actually connect with the mentors. So our program starts off the school year with a lot of awareness, units of study where they learn about their strength areas, what career pathways match up to their strengths and their personality. And they're doing a lot of personality assessments, career interest inventory assessments. They're doing career research, all of those things. And then after our self-awareness, we moved into post-secondary pathway units of study, and the students learn all about the various pathways in their post-secondary endeavors. Wanda, we can't hear you. You're muted.
I got you.
We're getting a lot of feedback. It's because we have more than one microphone open, audio open. So everybody will turn off their audio and chat with you. And then when you get finished, then Dr. Taylor, you come back on and we should eliminate that background, okay? All right. Thank you, dear.
Do you want me to pick back up? Okay. Okay. So we also do a communication skills unit. We do a leadership development, and that's one of the things that Dr. Taylor and I kind of team up together to deliver some lessons on that as well. Overcoming barriers, we do SMART goal setting, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic on a time frame, and we walk students through the process of setting up SMART goals. This time of year, as we work with seniors, if there's any seniors at risk of not meeting graduation requirements and they're at risk of possibly not graduating, that is what a SMART goal is all about. So we say, okay, let's identify your barrier. What's in the way of graduation? And we develop what specifically do you need? And if it's like passing the state requirements, we talk about what are the other tests that you can take, what are the scores you need, and then the attainable part is what are you going to do? What is your action steps to prepare you for this test? Is it realistic? Can you gain those skills before the date of the test? And we put a pathway together to make that happen, and then the time frame, the deadline for meeting that. So it's very specific. And if it's about career goals, then it's identifying what barriers exist for you to go to nursing school. If you want to be a nurse, then we are looking up what the requirements are, what maybe they don't have, and how are they going to get those things. So it's very, very beneficial. And then we develop their transition plan, and they know exactly what are the requirements for whatever transition that they're going to make. And we make sure that the barriers are removed before they go there. So My students who graduated last year are 98% successful after high school in their post-secondary transition plan because of this curriculum. It really works. And Mr. Helms, will you advance the slide? So the pathways that the students prepare themselves for are vocational with certification programs, college or university, military. If they want to go straight into the workforce, we have wonderful opportunities. We have just right here in Putnam County over 100 business partners that really help our JFG students. In fact, I had one of our new people join in who interviewed one of my students, and they said, we knew when she put her portfolio out and she had a resume, a cover letter, her letters of recommendation, her certifications, her background check, all of the documents needed, we knew we were going to offer her the job. Her portfolio was amazing. And that's what we do in our program. We also connect them with apprenticeship programs or any kind of specialized program for licenses or certifications. One of our students is serving, in fact, I think he just took his state exams to become a realtor with Ben Bates. So Ben Bates is one of our business partners that connects our students with that post-secondary transition plans and mentors them. So with all of that being said, a lot of people may ask, well, that's huge, all of this stuff, and it's such a term. How do you do it? I'm not going to read all of these things, but if you kind of look in the blue area, the career readiness skills, we do units of study and we do authentic projects that are real. Everything they do in this program is as real as it can be. And when you go down this list, you're going to see we connect them to mentors in their fields of interest. And that is where the lovely, talented, and amazing Dr. Taylor comes in to play. As in her role, she offered to help mentor our students. So with that, I'm going to turn this presentation back over to Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Becky. I'm excited to be here to talk about the partnership because Becky is full of energy and enthusiasm and love for these students, and it's infectious. So we really hit the ground running with the project. Next slide, please, Mr. Helms. I met Becky and heard about the JFG students at my Rotary Club of Palatka presentation that they gave. And she told us all about the wonderful JFG project. And when we put together this collaboration, Judge Angela Cox is this dynamic young woman in the Jacksonville community who comes to my live class and lectures and tells the students about her leadership development and her life, the barriers she overcame in life. So we had her presentation video recorded so I could share it with my online students. And fortunately, we brought it to Putnam County, the district schools, and Becky loaded it on their Canvas program. And the teachers of the JFG students showed the Judge Koch video to the students for them to be ready for our presentation. And on looking at Judge Cox, you can see she's this poised, beautiful young woman. And at the age of 32, she was appointed to the bench. She was the youngest judge appointed by Jeb Bush. And then later she was elevated to the circuit bench and was the first African-American female in Northeast Florida, which is our district. But as she says, that's not the beginning of her story. She had the most powerful story of beginning in a disadvantaged situation and a tragic family. And she overcame those barriers through the help of a role model and mentor. And Mr. Helms, the next slide, please. Thanks. So in class, Becky and I would pose the question to the students, how would you define someone as a leader? What are the qualities that you would find in a leader? And so they would name out who is a leader in their lives. And they would say a teacher, they would say the mayor of the community, elected officials, business leaders, faith-based leaders. They were on top of it. They knew who their heroes and heroines were. And so next slide, Mr. Helms. So then we posed the question to them, what is a mentor? And we talked about people that mentor in lives, and we've pointed out that that's someone who cares for you, who wants to see you succeed and guide you on that path to success. And of course, as Becky just mentioned, she has an arsenal of mentors that she can pair with these students. Mr. Holmes, next slide, please. So then we came to a definition. Good leaders, we know, inspire us and guide us with their ethics and their experience and their wisdom. And next slide. And Judge Cox, in her presentation, pointed out that it's important to develop your reputation. Your reputation is what other people think of you, and that also represents your leadership. When you develop your leadership, that's what people think you are. And leaders are being watched. So even when you're not presenting, when you're not interacting, just your actions and the way you make people feel reflects your leadership. So there's different qualities of reputation and leadership, like honesty, and the students point out different things. But then, next slide, I must point out that there is an additional collaboration that Judge Cox comes to our community. Let's see, I think my slides are a little out of order. But Judge Cox, as you can see in presentation, is a beautiful young woman. But she likes to tell in her story that she developed her reputation based on overcoming barriers. As a young woman in her family, her mother was a drug addict and was not in the family. Her father abandoned the family, and she and her brother went to live with her grandmother. And this was in the streets of Detroit. This was in a tough, hard neighborhood. And so when their grandmother died, Angela and her brother moved to live with their aunt Rolanda, who turned out to be her saving mentor, her saving role model in life. And Aunt Rolanda pointed out to her the value of education, to work harder on your GPA, because Angela had been a tough student in middle school. In middle schools, her GPA was 2.0. She caused trouble and was on detention because she was a fighter. She would cause fights on the school campus, in the bathroom and in the campus, and was always on detention. So she had a hard background to cover. But Aunt Rolanda pointed out, you need to overcome your barriers and find the resources to help you go forward in life. And one thing that happened while they were living with Aunt Rolanda was her brother Isaac. Angela's brother was a straight A student, and he intended to become an attorney. And he was shot dead on the streets of Detroit by a cousin, a friend of a cousin. And he actually died in Angela's arms. But Angela, by watching the judicial justice process of being arrested and given a free public defender, and the young man was investigated by the prosecuting attorney, and there was a courtroom and a judge and a trial, and he was sent to prison for his crime. Angela decided then that's what she wanted her career to be. But when she went to apply for law school after she got out of college, everyone turned her down because of her poor GPA and the detentions that were on her record. But she pointed out to our students in her lecture that you only need one yes in life, that there will be plenty of times that people turn you down, plenty of disappointments, but you only need one yes to go forward. Often those disappointments and those failures are a catalyst for success for the next level. So she pointed out that from Aunt Rolanda, she learned that she only needed that one yes. She got one yes to law school. So when she was in law school, she knew it was important to work harder, to stand out. She had a day job at the courthouse and a night job at UPS. And she worked harder than anyone else to make her good grades in law school and get out. And then when it was time to find a job, she went to Harry Shorstein, the state attorney in Jacksonville. And he said, why should I hire you? You have a terrible GPA. You were in detention. She said, Mr. Shorstein, if you will believe in me and give me this one chance, I promise I will be the best state attorney you have ever had. And sure enough, he gave her the job. And that first year as a state attorney, she won the award for Rookie of the Year for her experience and respect and the way she handled her cases. Next slide, Mr. Helms. And Judge Cox comes to our community for Girls Can at St. John's River State College. Each March, she delivers that keynote address that is her video. And the girls break out into sessions, and each breakout has 10 women in careers, and the girls get to interact and exchange emails and become mentor email partners. And then next slide, Mr. Helms, please. And then in November, there's an event for boys. It's the same thing. A leader speaker comes as a keynote. The boys break out into sessions and see different careers and talk to and get information about the careers. And the neat thing in this day and age is both sessions for boys and girls include nursing and law enforcement and firefighting and accountants and welding. Welding is one of the best of all careers. Automobile, diesel mechanics, jet engine repair. So it's this incredible array of career experiences. And next slide, please, Mr. Helms. And then Becky takes over with the students with a project. Becky, would you tell them about this?
So our students then have to identify their specific barriers that are in their pathway. And that's where all of those units of study that precede our mentoring program take place. They career pathway they're interested in. They've looked up and researched what the requirements are. And so now they're identifying what barriers lie in their way. And then we develop those SMART goals around those barriers so that they can overcome it. It's a very systematic approach to overcoming barriers and the mentorship. Now, everybody in our presentation today, I think most of y'all are educators. We all know the power of mentoring. That is like the number one thing when you do the research. The thing that makes the biggest difference is a student needs one person in their life that serves that mentoring role to help guide them and help them meet their career aspirations. And so that is why this mentorship with UNF and Dr. Taylor and her students in the Leadership Institution are invaluable to the Putnam County school system. And she's going to talk a little bit about one other tiny component of this that is not tiny at all. It's an amazing, amazing opportunity for our students in Putnam County. So I'm going to throw it back to you to talk about our PAL project. You're muted. Unmute yourself, Doctor.
I need to be unmuted frequently. There's a slide later in the presentation that sets it out, but our director, when I told him about this wonderful project that Ms. Moats and I were doing, was so impressed that he created a program called Putnam Aspiring Leaders, PAL, P-A-L. And with that, Becky has arranged a field trip for the outstanding JFG students to go to the UNF campus. And when they go to the campus, they'll have a tour of the campus. And Becky's going to poll by career interest so that if they have a medical arts interest, we'll spend a lot of time at Brooks College. And if they're interested in art, we'll spend a lot of time with those students at the art studios and art history and the different labs that we have going there. So it'll be in depth as they go through the campus. And then they go to the UNF cafeteria for lunch, and all of the fresh vegetables at the cafeteria are grown there on the campus. So they get a real feel for that. And then they meet faculty as they go through the campus. And then they'll attend a sports event, whatever's going that day, volleyball, baseball, basketball, golf. We have scholarships and all sorts of sports that are going at all times. And then my director has given to each of the 200 students that are in part of the program a free Drew Dudley Day One Leadership class that'll be video telecast. But when you have a minute, look on TED Talks and look for the TED Talk by Drew, D-R-E-W, Dudley, D-U-D-L-E-Y. and he will lead an in-person, a Zoom telecast with the students while they're on campus, and then some afterwards sessions as well. And after this is completed, they'll all receive a leadership certificate from the Institute that they can include with their resume as part of the packet in their portfolio. So we are super excited about that. And that will come up in April or May. And then the UNF students in a project called Camp Osprey will mentor our Putnam students, our JFG students, and they'll have one-on-one opportunities. And in particular, it'll culminate in job interviews. They'll do mock job interviews with the students and talk to them, and they'll pair up by careers the best we can. And they'll talk to them about joining the career and what their background is and applying for coursework, just to give them the whole feel of applying for college, applying for a job, and getting ready for a career placement. So this is just quickly the classes and the students that we did speak to. We started back in December, and we started at Palatka High School, and this is just a quick picture of our presentation. And the students were so engaged. I was so impressed. Almost all of them have an idea of what they'd like to do, and they would speak about they want to go in. The guys were really interested in going into football, many of them. And so Becky already had a plan with some mentors. And did you know that our mayor, Terrell Hill, went to Palatka High School and then went on to college on a football scholarship? So right here in Putnam County, we have incredible mentor pairings that will come up that we can do. And Mr. Helms, the next slide, please. Then still in December, we went to Crescent City High School, and the school principal, John Shelby, sat in with us with teacher Veronica Glover. And these students were really pepped up on their career readiness. And what I thought was interesting, there was one table, and it was girls and boys, and they were all ready. They were going to go to welding school. They realized the value, and they were all creative. They were all into the arts, but they were going to welding school, and they realized the potential of a great income and a very satisfying career. So I was so impressed that they were ready with their ideas for college. Next slide, please, Mr. Helms. And so then at Interlochen High School, the teacher was Dustin Whitlock, who had been a student of Becky's, is that right, in the past. So that was a homecoming. That was really great. And these students also had great ideas about what they wanted to do in college. Many of them had talked about tech school and law enforcement. And Becky mentioned to them that at Wayne McLean's Beck dealership, there was one young man of her students that wanted to be into diesel technology, automotive diesel technology. He went up to a college that Wayne McLean visited to see this young man's path in college and his plans for the diesel mechanics. It's his intention to come back for Beck at an outstanding salary. I was very impressed with the salary and impressed with our leader, our community leader, Wayne McLean. Next slide, Mr. Helms. So then QI Roberts, we went there in January, and they were all set. These three young women in the front there had already, the Judge Angela Cox video had so inspired them that they wanted to go into criminal justice, into the criminal justice system. And one wanted to become a nurse, and she had already applied at UNF to go into the nursing program. Next slide, please, Mr. Helms. And then wonderfully, Janet Cobble joined us when we began to talk to the middle schools. And she had the most amazing platform of videos to show them opportunities in classes and all the testing that needed to come up. And Becky can speak to this better than I, but Becky had this great sheet that set out for the students what was going to be required of them, for how much English they needed to take, how much math, science, that there were art opportunities and online opportunities and social sciences, things that they needed to be ready for, but they could be excited about now and channel them in their 4-year plan, channel them for where they wanted to go. So then Janet presented to the students as well. The next slide, please, Mr. Helms. So then we went to Miller Middle And that was great. And the teacher has stayed with us the whole time, Mr. O'Rao. And a lot of the young women were really interested in the nursing program. And Becky and Janet cautioned them that you have to be ready and plan ahead, and that there were so many opportunities in the Putnam County School District to acquire a certification and to get ahead and get ready with your CNA opportunities. And Becky had arranged with Solaris Healthcare in Palatka that if they wished to work at Solaris would provide for free their tuition for further medical arts studies. So we learned a lot about the opportunities, and the students got to ask questions and learn more about the possibilities. Next slide, please. Then last was Jenkins yesterday, and that was great fun because Becky had an activity. You see how the chairs and tables are surrounding the room, and we were careful about safety and precautions and staying spaced apart, and everybody wore a mask. But in that exercise where Becky asked for positive and negative leadership qualities so that students could discuss it and talk about it, they really got excited and engaged in that. And they all put together these long lists of good things and bad things that they could see in leaders that they knew or knew about. So that was a great activity. The next slide, please, Mr. Moats. So next we'll go to Price. And then next slide, Mr. Helms, when that can be set up after COVID. But this sets out that PAL program that UNF's Taylor Leadership Institute wants to do with the Putnam County students. And like I said, we'll do the job interviews, and the 200 students will have that leadership training. So that's our wonderful program. And yes, and Becky, if you would talk about the future.
Well, we will, of course, continue to prepare our students for their post-secondary success. And I'm sure that our JFG program will morph next year and hopefully become even better than it already is, especially when I have such amazing business partners like Dr. Taylor. And I see Wayne McLean is on this board as well, and he is one of the best as well. We are so blessed in Putnam County to have people right among us that truly care about the success of our students. So with that, we thank all of you, and especially our business partners out there. We could not do this without you. So thank you.
I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to open their microphone, and if you have a comment or a question, you'd like to do that now. We'll take just a minute or two for that.
Becky and Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for sharing. It is so inspirational, all the things that are available to our students and the fact that you guys are making those connections for them. We appreciate all of your work to bring this information to our students. And yes, Judge Cox is amazing. So I'm so glad that we have a video of her to be able to share for students who have not gone to Girls Can.
Thank you, Mrs. France. I just say, I know that and personally how scary transitions are. And it looks like you guys have really centered your work where it can make the biggest impact with students, so that they know that high school, what's available to them there, they're more prepared, they're excited. And I remember graduating high school, and that was like the scariest time of my entire life. Like, what do you do now? What do you do? So these plans that you're giving people, it truly is, and you know, this truly life-changing. And thank you so much for your work. Okay, folks, if you look at your agenda, we're going to talk about our Federal Programs Parent Survey, which I said earlier is a yearly event, and it's important for us to do this because it gives us a parent-family perspective and data that we use throughout all our federal programs and decisions that we make at the district level. So it really is an important a survey that we do every year. And we would like to give everybody the opportunity to look at the questions and kind of review with them, because we want to ask the best questions. We have just a very small survey. We don't want to take up a lot of people's time. And so we try to keep our surveys small, so our questions are very important, that they're directed to get information on areas that we need. So if you, Mr. Helms has just put the survey up on the screen there, and this is what it looks like when parents log in. We send this out through email. You can access it through text. It's through Google Forms. So it's very easy for parents to access and give us feedback. And although it was kind of a new platform 2-3 years ago, it's now more of a common platform. So hopefully we've seen our participation increase every year. And so we're hoping for even greater participation this year. Oh, I don't know, baby. If I could, I need to see it, Mikey. Can you read that from me? Okay, and I thought as we go through this, guys, we have our chat box. So as we go through each of the questions, if you have, like, if you might like number 1 and you have a comment or something, or if you really, really need to speak, then please turn your microphone and I'll mute me so that you can speak. Okay, let's see how that works for us to get feedback. All right, the first page that you see on the survey, parents choose the school that they're responding to, because each school gets an individual report that reflects parent responses from their school. And, you know, if you have a parent with 3 students at different schools, you can do this more than one time. We try to get specific information per school. Okay, if you'll do the next slide, Mikey, or scroll down, however we're doing it. All right, section 2, those questions, what we try to do here is so questions 2, 3, 4, and 8 attempt to kind of read the school culture. Is the culture inclusive? Is it welcoming? Or is communication available? Are we accessible to our parents? So that's what those questions attempt to do. And the first question I want to read aloud, and you read with me if you will. The school provides opportunities for me to be involved in my child's education. Some opportunities are parent-teacher conferences, families nights, opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to meet with administration, opportunities to serve on school committees, etc. In a previous revision, we just had that first sentence, and then we felt like that parents might not understand exactly what it means to be involved, so we added some examples. And then as you see, you have a scale from 1 to 4, with 1 being strongly agree with the statement, or they strongly disagree with the statement, and then 2 and 3 are somewhere in the middle there. So let me pose this question, and remember, put your comments in chat, or I'm not sure how to raise our hands, but if you feel the need to speak, then just turn your microphone on. My question is, do you feel like that question will give us a good read if parents feel that they can be involved in their child's education? Okay. And if not, or a comment, please put it in the chat box. Okay, I'm going to move on to the 3. So, but please, all right, Ms. Bryan agrees. Looks good. Oh, good. I wonder, because of our current restrictions related to COVID, if parents, we put the chat up, might be skewed since it mentions volunteering. And it might be, Cindy, Miss Bellamy, but as we proceed through the survey, you'll see that at the end there's a chance for comments. So that might be. Okay. Maybe add Zoom. Oh, good, Ms. France. That's good. That's good, because that's definitely how we're doing things these days. Right. So that's noted. All right, 3, the school is flexible in scheduling events, meetings, and conferences so I can attend. Part of our Title I requirements and our federal requirements is that we have flexible scheduling. So, and that's like makes schools more accessible for parents. Do we need to add anything to that, or you feel like it's pretty explanatory? Okay.
I think back to what Cindy said. I think that you are going to have odd responses this year as opposed to previous years, because there's just not as many events as we've had in the past. So, I mean, I you might want to do a statement at the very beginning that is, something that kind of encompasses all things COVID.
Okay.
That maybe so each statement doesn't have to have a COVID like response to it, but it is. I think back to what Cindy's response is. Schools have done Zoom nights, parent nights, virtual parent nights. But as far as like that traditional idea of you being able to come to a school, it is very different this year.
That's good. So I'm going to add a statement in the beginning, Ms. France, that addresses the changes due to COVID that we've done, and just make it a general statement. That's a good idea. Okay. All right. So I just put question 4 in the box so that I can delineate what our comments are addressing. Okay. So I feel welcome when I enter the school. Once again, that's a kind of a COVID thing, but that does touch on the culture of a school. Do you have a welcoming atmosphere to school?
Could it be when I enter or correspond with the school?
Laura, can you okay, let me add this.
Well, I put in the chat box, do we want to put, mention when I call the school, which Laura said correspond, but they do a lot of calling, and we need to know if they feel like they're welcome when they do that.
Okay. Let me put that down. Perfect, guys. This is great feedback. The questions 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11, 12, and 13, they really speak to specific information that we're required to provide parents through Title I. And you'll see what I mean as we go through these. Certain things that are like question number, where are we at? Well, let me send this. Let me do this. Okay. The school provides my family with workshops or informational meetings that help me support my child's academic achievement. And then question 6, the school provides my family with materials and training that help me support my child's academic achievement. Both those things are specifically stated in the grant that we're required to do. So that's one of the questions that we're trying to get some specific information on if we are doing what we're supposed to do. Do you have any changes that we might could put in there to make that?
The informational meetings, could you maybe have something like parent conferences, parent teacher conferences? Because they do talk, like, I know I'm thinking specifically of kindergarten right this minute. Kindergarten calls and goes through the whole report card, and they set up like a conference time. And so they have a time frame built in that they meet specifically with parents. So I don't know, they would think of that as an informational meeting.
Okay. For like a scheduled. Was that you that said that? Who just said that? Did you see? Who added that comment? I might want to talk with you more about it. Okay, I guess we're not. It was Kim. Thank you, Ms. France. So that's 5 and 6. Let's go to 7, Mikey. School provides information to my family on the standards my child is required to learn at their grade level or in their elective courses. Once again, that is a requirement of Title I and some of our titles that we have to give that information. And many times it's given an open house, but our open houses, and we provide the schools like a PowerPoint that has information they can make their own that has all the required information at open house. So that is one thing that's one way of getting that to them. Any comments? Oh, it is shared on the website. We have asked schools to put the PowerPoint on the website so that parents can access it. My child's teacher regularly communicates with me. That goes back to culture. Anybody? All right. I'm knowledgeable of the Title I requirements supporting my rights as a parent to be engaged in my child's education. Once again, that is a requirement that we provide parents the opportunity and let them know that they have the right to help in decision-making of their child's education. The school has given me the opportunity to review and provide input for the school parent compact, which I signed at the beginning of the year, showing my agreement to the contract between the school parents and students. And anyone that's in a school does know how we, as an audit box person, that's one of the main things that we're really trying to get folks to do, is to remember to have those meetings with parents in some form that show that they were given the opportunity to provide input to the school parent compact, school improvement plan, the parent and family engagement plan, which are questions coming up. So really that's like we hope that parents will respond that yes, they did. So that lets us know that we're doing a good job letting folks know about these documents and the importance that families and parents play in revision and updating of these documents.
I'm not sure, maybe, but I'm thinking when I look at that question, it says the school has given me the opportunity. Will they think that we would invite them personally when we invite all parents? Should that be the school has given parents the opportunity to review and provide? I don't know if that makes the difference, or if that, that way it's general and not like we pick out certain people, because I don't know if they would be thinking we personally invite certain people to do that.
So Kim, did you say the school gives parents the opportunity rather than just me?
Right. I think it should be like general, unless we want it to be like, how do we want it to be centered on that one person's? Like, that question's a little different than the welcome question.
Yeah. Well, it is a specific viewpoint. I think we're wanting parents to give their particular viewpoint on this. So let me note that for 10, it's actually 10, 11, and 12. And I'll write this, maybe write this.
As a person, Wanda, who's taken this many times,
Yeah.
just because I'm a school board person, I think about the fact that I know that the school gives me an opportunity, but I have not, I don't give any feedback if I don't think it's needed. Does that make sense? So I've always answered it in the affirmative, that I know I have the opportunity to give feedback, although maybe personally I haven't given feedback.
So are you thinking we might ought to say that? Have you given feedback? Should we maybe add that?
I guess that's the question. Are you asking people for how many people have given feedback, or that we know that we could give feedback? I know that we can give feedback, and I look over it, and if I think it looks good, that I don't give any feedback.
Okay. All right. I'm going to add this to this and give this a little further thought, because that makes perfect sense. Really, it's at two purposes, because you're kind of wanting to know how good a job we're doing in providing people the opportunity. And it's almost a memory job for the schools to please be aware that it's important that you give your parents the opportunity. But the better feedback would really be, have you done it, from the parent? That was really because we can offer, but if they're not doing anything, then maybe we need to do some more to get that feedback that we need. So
I think specifically that when the principal goes through and says, this is what our Title I expenditures are going to be, do you have anything that you also, generally they've covered everything that you would even imagine would be a good expenditure,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. All right, so and then 11 is the same thing. It's basically the same thing. It's given me the review and provide input for the school improvement plan, which determines the focus and effective school improvement efforts at my child's school. And I will say, guys, in previous revisions, we just had that first sentence. And also in 10, we just had that first sentence, you're given the opportunity. But folks were like, we add a little bit more so that we would give like what the thing is. Like, remember that thing you signed at the beginning of the year was your compact, and remember why we do the school improvement plan. So we did add a little bit to try to make it a little more clear to parents exactly what we're talking about. But once again, the perception, the way you're viewing it, what we're actually asking, and we might want to relook at that and see if we can get better feedback if they're actually doing it. Okay, Micah, let's go to 12. And one more very important thing is the school's parent-family engagement policy. So have we given them the opportunity to review and provide input for the school's parent-family engagement policy, which details how the school will encourage and support my family's ability to be involved in my child's learning. So once again, anybody? Rob likes it. Okay. All right, and then the school invited, encouraged my family to attend the Title I meeting at the beginning of the year, this school year. And that is.
I wonder if you would like to, because every school did it virtually this year, maybe just say the school invited and encouraged my family to attend the Title I virtual meeting so that people understand that that was that first. I mean, I know the schools did it. They sent out links to people to come in and to view it, but I just want to maybe say virtual in that one because everybody had to do it virtually this year.
That's true. Had some really good creative ways to get parents to, I mean, the drive-bys, they really were some good efforts to get people involved. So I'll add that. That makes sense. Thank you.
Ms. Wilkinson,
Yes.
is it required for us to give the surveys like now towards the end of the year, or could we give these parent surveys at the beginning when parents have done all these things and it's fresh in their brain? Because like I think a lot of people are saying, many parents aren't going to really remember doing that, even though some of them did. They may not recall the names of these things, though.
I'm going to write that down, Becky. There's not anything saying we can't do it more than once a year, actually. You could. We do it now, basically, because people are getting ready to do their comprehensive needs assessment, and our title grants or RFAs are coming out. And this data figures strongly in those pieces. But there's nothing saying that we couldn't do another one. You're right, it would be more fresh in their mind, but I added that comment in the section there, okay?
Wanda,
Yes,
if you could just make a note, I felt the same way when it said workshops in one of the questions. If we could put like virtual next to that in parentheses or something, so people understand that those were workshops, because I know a lot of schools did workshops virtually.
okay.
And maybe people don't think of that as a workshop, but there was a lot of meetings done virtually that were supposed to be to comply with these workshops.
Okay. So I'm going to add virtual, so parents know what we're talking about, basically. They understand that was what we're talking about.
That was a workshop, even though you were sitting at home.
Right. Okay. You need to change that, Priscilla, please do, but I think that's what I heard you say. Okay, so this next section, folks, this seeks to get a little deeper and give parents the opportunity to give a little different feedback. And the first, number 14, is really what barriers, and which is another reason for doing this survey, is to try to determine what the barriers are that are causing parents not to be able to, it says it's 10 school activities. I think we've kicked around being able to engage in my child's education. That wording has gone back and forth a little bit. And if you see, those are the things that we have listed there. You just check one or more than one. You're able to more than one. And also there's a short answer. So what do you guys think about the wording of that, or what, should we change it in any way? Yes. got that, Jessica. And you're right. Sometimes it is. It's just connectivity, especially now. That might be something.
Wanda, I wonder if lack of internet, because they've been Zoom, lack of internet would be one that we could add, or,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. First of all, because that is a big issue.
right.
That's how we're presenting our information, and we definitely need it that parents have access to hardware. I'll add that in there. Do you like the wording of being able to attend school activities? Do you think that that's too small of a?
I've added a note in there that said activities virtually or in person.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my thoughts too. We might need to change that. Okay, Mikey. Okay, 15 is, which of the following do you prefer as a means to receive information from school? Because we have various ways now, with technology of how information can come. And I'll tell you right, last year, texting, phone calls, notes home, those were the top 3. Can you think of anything else you would add in there? Okay, social media. Okay, thank you, Cindy. Right, Nixon, I think we're getting to the end now. Okay, now here we like to give the parents a little bit of choices on what they might more information, to learn more about. And those are some things that came up previous PIDAC meetings that seemed to strike a nerve with those parents that were there, and like homework, college career planning, how to help my child in math has always been a very big one, very big. So just kind of look through those. Can you think of anything else we should add? And I think if you scroll down, Mikey, I can't see it, but I think it says other, does it? Yeah. Yeah. So there's also short answer. Parents have the opportunity to add things to this if they don't see anything that they're interested in clicking there. And they can choose more than one on that one.
Wanda, when we get the results for the surveys, do they get sent back to the school specifically so they can address some of these things? I just wonder, because I don't remember the schools that I work with seeing them address the needs that were identified from this survey.
Yeah, they do.
That's done some other way.
Create some really lovely little pie graphs and stuff on each question, and then all the comments are collated together on each question. So yes, everybody has information, and it's in their comprehensive needs assessment. It's a little piece in there, so that data is provided there. So yes, it is considered. Yeah. Mikey, do you have another question? I think one more. All right, and what this next question is, anything that we didn't cover, any comments that you'd like to make, and it goes here. And parents often take the time to give specific comments about things at their schools, which are very valuable. And so this is a question that's usually, we have a lot of responses at this question. Okay, and that's our title, Parent Family Engagement Survey. Guys, y'all gave us some great feedback, and we'll go through and we'll look at it again and make some updates, and I'll send out a share so you can see what we're going to do before we finally send it out. Okay, our goal is to send it out in March, have the results by early April, so that schools are able to add all this information when they're doing their planning. Okay. Now, folks, unless Dr. Cerncy joined us.
I did.
Yes. Hey, Rick, how are you?
All right, I just got on. I sent you a text.
We're so glad to see you.
Glad to be here. Yeah. Y'all are about to wrap up, right?
Yeah, we say the best to last. We're waiting on you.
Hey, I'm gonna be really brief,
Okay.
and I don't have a whole lot to say that you don't already know about, but I think most of you know that we are looking at a lot of stuff happening here the next few months. The board did pass our revitalization plan, and the first phase of that is some school consolidation and all that goes with that. And I know there's a lot of anxious people, especially the people that are in those particular schools and those parents. And I know we are looking at doing some rezoning for some of our students who attended Mellon, and that information will be coming out soon. And just a few other things that are coming down the pike early, because we're trying to have a really strict timeline, because there's a lot of heavy lifting going on, but we're going to be ready come fall. But we are going to be looking at probably naming our principals here the next week or so. So that information will come out, because I think before anything else can happen, especially teacher transfers and employee transfers and all that kind of stuff, they need to know who the principals are. So we're going to try to do that. And then there's a lot of other logistical things that will be taking place, and we'll be announcing that. But I do want to just take a minute and I'll be quiet and answer questions if anybody has a question about that or anything else, because I know we're short on time. Sounds like everybody's ready to end the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Been a long meeting.
It's been a quiet group. We had some great information though today.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah, they're information down, I can tell.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thanks for letting me be here, and sorry I was late. I was finishing up another meeting, but thank you all for taking part of this.
Well, thank you for being there. And thanks to everyone. Our next meeting is scheduled for March 31st. I'm also going to send out a little form. Do we like the afternoon better than the morning? I mean, we'll feel that out a little bit. It seems like some people said they did. Okay. Well, thank you all so very much for being here this day in this beautiful weather, and just go forth and do great work. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.